From flat earth theories to your man never set foot on the moon claims, and of course the ever-present Illuminati, conspiracy theories are everywhere. And to no surprise, the music industry is packed with them too. But although you've probably heard the classics such as Tupac actually being alive hiding in Cuba, the Michael Jackson faked his death theory, or the viral rumor connecting Drake to XXXTentacion,
I still think Drake will fuck nigga. I'm keeping a blow roll. I still think Drake will fuck nigga.
Today though, we're going to be skipping those usual suspects, and diving into 6 conspiracy theories which are less talked about, but just as wild. Most are funny when you take off your tinfoil hat, however, others are seriously unsettling. In 2007, New Jersey music producer Rob Fusari discovered an 18-year-old singer who immediately impressed him. With a powerful voice and magnetic personality, that true star potential was there. Her name was Lina Morgana. Real name,
What do you feel?
Feel good.
Feel good? She feels good.
Fusari started working with this young girl, developing not only her music talent, but also her entire artist persona. Lina had a bold theatrical style. Often wearing wigs, latex, and messy makeup, she stood out from the pack, and that quickly got her noticed.
I want to become famous, a famous singer, I do, so whatever it takes, I will do it.
By the end of 2007, Lina Morgana had signed a long-term contract with Universal Music Group. However, that same year, she would also meet another up-and-coming artist who was also working with Rob Fusari. At the time, this other girl was completely unknown. But today, the entire planet knows her as Lady Gaga. The two women became close, but despite collaborating and writing songs together in the studio, back in 2007, Lina had way more buzz than Gaga, and she was the clear candidate next in line to break through. That was, though, until just 1 year later, when Lady Gaga released her debut album, The Fame, which changed everything. Including the multi-platinum smash hits Just Dance, Poker Face, and Paparazzi, Lady Gaga shot to global stardom almost overnight. But meanwhile, on the other hand, Lina Morgana's debut was still stuck in production.
A 19-year-old singer, she's been singing since she was 5 years old, and she's into pop and rock music.
Again, initially believed to be right behind Gaga and next to blow up in the mainstream, sadly, her moment never came. On October 4th, 2008, just 2 months after Gaga's breakout album, this article was published, which reads, "A woman believed to be in her 20s or 30s jumped from the roof of the Staten Island hotel. The woman was pronounced dead." Unfortunately, we soon learned this woman was Lina Morgana. Now, the official police report concluded that it was a self-delete. However, if you ask Lina's mother, that simply isn't possible. Shortly following this tragedy, not only came this video her mother made obtained by TMZ, showing us the various similarities between Lady Gaga and her daughter, but then came this statement by her mother, setting off conspiracy alarms worldwide. "I'm doing this because I want to keep her spirit alive. Lady Gaga is holding Lina's soul," her mother said, "and I want her soul to be free." Every other word she says is from Lina. She talks about having a dark and tragic life, but she had everything she wanted in the world. But Lina did have a tough life, and she often talked about her tragic life. According to Lina's mom, her daughter and Lady Gaga never had anything in common. Well, that was until after Lina's death, when Gaga's entire persona changed. The wigs, the latex, the theatrical image.
I want to give my fans everything that they deserve, and they do not deserve sweatpants and sneakers. They deserve the real me all the time, and this is who I am.
This transformation was drastic and oddly familiar. But then, to pour even more fuel onto the fire, after Lina's ex-boyfriend watched Lady Gaga's music video for the first time, "I was stunned," he said. "It was the same style, the same look, the same music, the same voice, the same jawline, the way they expressed themselves. And I was like, is that Lina?" It was so shocking. It was like seeing a ghost. When these comparisons began sparking online, Gaga's team started reportedly deleting posts from her website that mentioned Lina's influence, and the theory that emerged was wild. Lady Gaga had sacrificed Lina Morgana, either metaphorically or literally, in order to steal her artistic style, career, and her future. But was this true? Well, while no evidence suggests foul play, of course, this hasn't stopped conspiracy theorists from running with it. In their version of the story, Lady Gaga didn't just come up through years of hard work and persistence, she replaced someone to get there. However, there are more grounded explanations for what went down. One idea suggests that Lina Morgana was potentially in a relationship with a violent partner, and after a heated argument, she jumped in a moment of despair, also leading to others directly linking her story to Gaga's work, more specifically the Paparazzi music video. Amassing over 300 million views, this scene in particular was what caught fans' attention, where Lady Gaga plays a girl thrown off a balcony by her lover. Conspiracy theorists saw this as a reference and symbolic to Lina's tragic passing, yet one thing is for sure, Lady Gaga did not directly take out Lina Morgana. The day of the incident, Lady Gaga was on the complete opposite coast in Los Angeles, with several witnesses to confirm. But seeing as Gaga has still never talked about Lina's passing publicly, besides strangely telling TMZ, quote, they barely knew each other, for many internet users, this door remains open. To be honest, there are countless clone and body double theories running wild out there in the music world, but today we'll focus on 3, starting with arguably Atlanta's most influential trap artist of all time, Gucci Mane. Since his release from prison in 2016, a viral theory has circulated that Gucci Mane was actually replaced by a clone. Back in 2013, Gucci was arrested and sentenced to 3 years in prison for illegal firearm possession. Now, when he first got locked up, his life was chaotic, and as a result, Gucci's health was declining fast. However, though, in 2016 when he got out of prison, this man was a totally different person, which some people literally believe.
You hear me that Gucci is a clone? I wouldn't even support or deny those accusations.
Gone was the bloated and impulsive Gucci Mane we had formerly been accustomed to, and in his place was this clean-cut, sharply dressed man with a six-pack of abs. And that's when fans started noticing other odd differences too. Some claim that his tattoos looked different, or were missing altogether. And although, depending on which photo you look at, of course though, this theory is also pretty easy to debunk. The weight loss? Gucci was forced to quit drugs in prison and started working out along with cleaning up his diet. Yet, these logical explanations still weren't enough for some, who still firmly believe Gucci's behavior changed too much. Because, again, before prison, Gucci Mane was this out-of-pocket, unpredictable character. Then, after serving nearly 3 years, he came out a totally changed person. But, in reality, this is common when you serve a jail sentence, and even Gucci said so himself.
We're getting all them substances out of my body that made me able to realize, hey, listen, you gotta work out, you gotta eat better. So, the whole thing is just about being more conscious and being more self-aware of what you're doing. Once you're self-aware about what you're doing, then you'll say, hey, listen, I'm not gonna eat that.
Combined with claims, though, of his voice being different now, too, one of the most cited proofs of this Gucci is a clone theory came from a quote by fellow rapper Boosie. That's not the real Gucci Mane. We all know it's a clone, reads this quote which Boosie allegedly said. However, it turns out he never said that. And this quote came from a fake news site before the internet ran with it.
Hey, speaking of conspiracy theories, a few months ago, they kept sending me an article. It was like, Boosie Badass sat with Charlemagne and said that Gucci Mane is a clone.
Man, I don't know
like, what the hell that happened?
So you never said Gucci Mane was a clone?
Nah, man.
When somebody make up a rumor that you've been cloned.
You know, I'm one of a kind, man.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I'm saying? I'm like a tourist attraction. I'm like the seventh wonder of the world, so I expect stuff like that.
They thought I was a clone and they heard me speak proper, Gucci raps on Last Time. At the end of the day, there's no real evidence that Gucci Mane was replaced. He simply cleaned up his life. But what if some artists don't come back from their darkest moments? That's the theory surrounding Eminem. According to a persistent rumor dating back to 2013, Eminem lost his life sometime in the late 2000s, and was also replaced by a clone. But this story starts with a very real and very public collapse. Back in 2006, Eminem's longtime friend and fellow D12 member, Proof, was murdered. This loss would obviously devastate him. Eminem would stop releasing music and disappeared from the public eye, then sadly began struggling heavily with multiple dangerous substances.
I think once I took my first bite, it was just like this feeling of,
You know, like everything was not only mellow, but didn't feel any pain. It just kind of numbed things.
Gaining weight while battling depression, before soon Eminem OD'd a year later in 2007, an event which he later stated nearly ended him. However, for internet theorists though, Eminem's long absence and this news of his overdose could only mean one thing. That Eminem did pass in 2007 and was then replaced by a government clone that returned in 2009. But what is the evidence? First, conspiracy theorists point to changes in his appearance. They say that prior to 2006, Eminem had a much rounder face with sharper eyes and a more intense stare. But then, 3 years later, his jawline was now slimmer, his face now longer, and his expression more empty. Every single little detail, no matter how small, was turned into alleged evidence that this is not the same man, including this viral clip here, which theorists like to point to as some sort of clone glitch in Eminem's system.
Marshall Mathers. Some of you may know him as Eminem, but he's going to join the Saturday night crew with our music intro starting next Saturday night. But folks, I want to take you to the world premiere of one of his...
Arguing that Eminem's voice had shifted too, and his lyrics were unrecognizable. Again though, the truth is, as you age over 3 years, your body is going to change too over time. And for Eminem, after losing his best friend and then entering into a deep depression, it makes sense why he came back a changed person. As for what he was doing on ESPN, I honestly don't know. However, if you thought this theory was a reach, our next one goes even further. Taylor Swift is not Taylor Swift. At least according to this popular conversation, especially among Facebook moms. The theory goes that, instead, Taylor Swift is actually the reincarnation of this girl, Zena LaVey, who is the daughter of Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan.
Reverend Anton Zandor LaVey, who is the founder and high priest of the First Church of Satan.
But despite this argument picking up traction, their biggest source of proof, the simple fact the two girls look alike. Seriously, that's about it. Now, to be fair, they do look strikingly similar, particularly when you put them side by side, but again, that's as far as their evidence goes. You may also see viral posts such as this one, claiming that Taylor uses satanic rituals and symbols in her shows and music, or they'll point to this clip with Ice Spice at the Super Bowl.
Now, Taylor Swift is performing demonic rituals live on stage and putting witchcraft into her music videos. If you don't wake up to this, you'll fall into the devil's trap and his plan all along.
Of course, some people truly believe that Taylor Swift's fame can only be the result of a deal with dark forces, even showing up at her concerts with signs before immediately getting arrested in their seat. Now, I suppose it is possible this theory could hold even a little bit of weight. That is, if it wasn't for just one massive problem. Zena LaVey is still alive. By definition, this obviously makes it impossible for Taylor Swift to be her reincarnation. So when conspiracy theorists realize this minor detail, they then pivot into arguing that Taylor isn't Zena reincarnated, but rather instead, she is her clone. Or maybe her mom, or just a distant relative. Because why not? This theory is pretty comical, and is again another massive reach. But this next one is much darker. As a founding member of one of the most iconic rap groups in history, NWA, alongside his partners Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, by 1995 Eazy-E was a household name. However, that very same year, his story took a fatal turn. In February of 1995, Eazy-E was admitted to the hospital with a cough. First thought to be asthma or just something more minor, quickly ended in the worst way possible. After getting diagnosed with HIV/AIDS, Eazy-E's health started deteriorating rapidly, and then just 10 days later, came this horrific news.
Rap singer Eazy-E has lost his battle with AIDS just 10 days after revealing that he had the disease. The 31-year-old rapper died last night in a Los Angeles hospital. He was hospitalized last month for what he thought was asthma and said that he did not know how he contracted AIDS.
All of this took place in less than a month, which is exactly what sparked conspiracy rumors. To make things worse, those closest to him said that Eazy-E had shown no signs of being sick, not in the weeks or even months leading up to his hospitalization. He looked and acted perfectly like himself. In most cases, HIV does not progress this fast, and although everybody's body is different, even once diagnosed, with AIDS, most people can survive months, if not years, with treatment. However, in the case of Eazy-E, he went from announcing his disease to the public, to then passing away in a hospital in less than 30 days.
Eazy was in the hospital roughly a month ago. He was released from the hospital, came home, but he didn't show signs of improvement, so he went back to a different hospital.
Our next strange detail, though, is that despite having fathered 11 children with numerous other women, not a single one of them ever tested positive for the AIDS virus. And that's when this viral theory began to spread. Eazy-E didn't contract the virus, he was injected with it. But by who, you ask? According to theorists, by the devil himself, Suge Knight. At the time, Suge Knight was one of the most feared and powerful figures in the entire music industry. He had convinced Dr. Dre to leave NWA and form Death Records with him, and then had allegedly threatened Eazy-E over a contract dispute, portrayed here in this scene during the NWA movie.
This was gonna happen. You gonna sign these releasing Dre and DOC from Ruthless. Think I'm signing that? You crazier than I thought you was.
Tensions were clearly high between the two, but later, as rumors of a potential NWA reunion started swirling, some believe Suge Knight saw this as a threat, and thus decided to take matters into his own hands. But this is where things get even stranger. In a now infamous 2003 interview with Jimmy Kimmel, Suge makes this joke which stunned everyone.
See, technology is so high, right? Right. So if you shoot somebody, you go to jail forever. Right. So they got this new thing out. They got this stuff they call, they get blood from somebody with AIDS. Yeah. And then they shoot you with it.
Oh,
so
well, that seems bad.
That's a slow death.
Yeah.
An easy thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
The quote, easy-E thing, he said. Now, this clip has floated around the internet ever since, leading people to suggest Suge either knew more than what he let on, or perhaps was directly involved. And it didn't stop there. According to another eerie clip here, a few years later by Kid Frost, who was signed to Eazy-E's record label, Ruthless Records, he claims to know what truly went down.
I'm gonna tell you what happened with Eazy getting AIDS, and I believe this to this day, and I don't care if you guys got it on film, you could tell the world. They gave him tainted needles with acupuncture needles that tainted him and gave it to him. And what happened is that someone, I won't say the name, but people know the name, you know, another person in rap, if you know your history of rap, calls him a devil. So if you know your history in rap or West Coast rap, you'll know who I'm saying.
In the interview, Frost says that someone who calls himself the Devil is the one responsible. And if you can remember, the Devil is a nickname of Suge Knight. So did Suge actually play a role here? As of this video, there remains no evidence, only speculation. However, that isn't the case though for this last wild theory. Have you ever wondered if Britney Spears is a weapon of mass distraction? Well, if you have, just know you're not alone. According to a popular conspiracy, Britney Spears' most chaotic and viral moments, such as her public breakdowns and bizarre interviews, were actually not random at all, but instead timed up perfectly. To be more specific, they were said to be orchestrated by the government, in order to distract the general public from major political scandals that were happening in the United States during George W. Bush's presidency from 2001 to 2009.
God bless you all, and God bless America.
But although it sounds ridiculous, many of the dates low-key line up. From events including the USA Patriot Act, for example, passed in late 2001, a law that was heavily criticized for expanding government surveillance and limiting civil liberties, which just happened to line up with the release of Britney Spears' third album. But with countless more earth-shattering news, such as Britney Spears giving birth to her first son and stealing front-page headlines, her infamous decision to shave her entire head, or her kiss with Madonna at the MTV Music Video Awards, which took place during another big scandal in 2003, when Iraq war documents were exposed as forgeries. It felt like whatever Britney Spears did, the mainstream media followed her relentlessly. But was there any truth behind this theory? Well, if you're into conspiracy theories, this one writes itself. Each time the Bush administration was in trouble and needed help, they simply turned to Britney to distract the world with something chaotic. However, if you're grounded in reality though, these dates are a lucky coincidence. Whether or not you believe conspiracy theories are total nonsense or secretly onto something is all up to you. But one thing remains certain, we will always question what we are told. If you enjoyed this video, you should also watch another one of these interesting topics up on screen. Thank you guys for the support.